Guys, teacher life got me. I have not vlogged for a bit. So tonight is Thursday night. I am going to clean up for the weekend. I like to have like a super fresh apartment for the weekend. And then I'm gonna figure out what book I want to read and settle down and read it for the rest of the night with the candle lit. It's gonna be amazing. I don't know what the cats are doing. Anyway, I'm gonna get that done and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm gonna try and find what I'm going to read next and possibly even finish tonight. I have less than an hour till bedtime, maybe not. Okay, my iPad is charging, but this is what I have so far. Boxer shorts, done. Half and half, halfway done. I still have to watch the movie. Play suit shorts is done. Lifeguard shorts is done. What else? Ripped shorts is done, and I think that's it. Yes. So I've read 5 books so far for Shorty September, and 4 of the 5 of them I think are by someone named John or Jonathan or some variation of John. I think they're literally all by men. So I really need to find a book by a woman or a trans person or somebody. But I just want a mood read, so we'll see what I can find. I'm wondering why all the shorties I've read so far are by guys. Like, are guys more able to write shorties that will be picked up by publishers, or is it just like, it's just what I've been picking? I don't know. I feel like usually I don't read many books by guys. Furthermore, I just checked how many shorties I have, and excluding library books, I have 102 shorties left. That's like subtracting the ones I've already read. 102. That is insane. That is 250 pages or less is what I'm counting. Hey people, it's Friday and I'm going to be celebrating Frigosmoos, something Swedish, today by myself. I just decided to. Basically, I think it stands for, or it's like translated into Cozy Friday or something like that. And it's basically where you have like crappy American tacos in your sweats, and then you just like binge watch TV or read or hang out, like super lazy, super cozy on a Friday, because no one wants to go out on a Friday, at least in my world, because you're exhausted. You've just been working all week. So it's just a way to stay cozy on Friday. And so I have horrible American tacos. You know, I am American, but like, yeah, not like anything homemade or anything. Like, you just buy this crap. And I'm gonna make them with beans today because I'm trying to get my iron up, because next time I donate blood, I want to do double red. And you need to have your iron like above a higher number than you do if you are just donating whole blood. So let's get this started. All right, here's the spread. We got some beans, some lettuce that was on sale, tomatoes, guac, and some sauce, taco sauce. That's pretty much it, just because this is like a grab and go, low maintenance sort of taco night. Dinner's done. I'm ready to chill. I will tell you what I'm going to be reading in a second, but I want to tell you about someone I found yesterday. Her name is Meta Narrator. Maybe I found her 2 days ago. I don't know if we have the same reading taste or not, because I haven't been watching her actual book videos. What I have been watching are some older videos that she did on BookTube Privilege, and I just felt they were absolutely amazing. She didn't offer any solutions in the video that I will link below. I'll link a couple below. But what she did is like raise awareness for how privilege impacts basically BookTube and creators, and like maybe what audiences see also from BookTube based on your privilege. And like, it was just such a good discussion, and I really am thinking not just about like from an awareness point of view or like an awareness sort of thing, but like okay, then what's the action, right? So if I have an awareness now of what privilege looks like on my channel, then what? So I'm still reflecting, I'm still thinking. I've watched her video a few times just because I felt like it was really good. And there's other videos as well on this, but I just thought hers was amazing. So I will link it below, like I said, but she made me think of Josna because she's from India, I'm pretty sure, and so is Josna. And a long time ago, she recommended a Shorty book to me that I ended up purchasing. She didn't really recommend it to me. She just talked about it on her channel, and I thought that it sounded really good. So it is The Colors of the Cage, a prison memoir. And this is, well, I guess this would count as translated, I would imagine. I'm gonna have to look into it to see if it was translated, but I believe it's about prisons in India, and I'm not really sure much more about that. I haven't read the back, but I will let you know how it goes. I just read the introduction of this. It is basically written by the person this happened to, Arun Faira, and basically it sounds like he was imprisoned for being wealthy and helping poor people. I'm sure there's more to it, but basically this book is like all kind of wanted to do zines initially, and then his friend apparently bullied him into writing this. I just lost the first page, but basically each of these is kind of dated and even has illustrations and just talks about his time in prison, and like, it's gonna be horrible. I know it because his friend at the beginning says India has very few documents of life in its horrific jails, and few as searing as this. So yeah, he says his friend kind of exited prison like just as joyful and just like, you know, like without trauma, I guess, or without like visible trauma and all that. And I think that also Arun helped like increase visibility on how horrible India's prisons are. But I'm wondering, I've hardly started this, I'm wondering if I should read another book I have on prisons in the United States and how we need to get rid of them, because that would be good to like compare and contrast prisons in India and how they probably unfairly harm people, and then prisons in the United States the same. And yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna start with this one though. Hey everyone, it's an amazing fall weekend. It's Saturday today. I am going to the apple orchard with my brother, sister-in-law, and my nephew Leo, and then also my cousin and her daughter. That's our annual tradition always, like my cousin and her daughter, who I call my niece, but she's not actually my niece, obviously. But this year it'll be fun because Leo is gonna come too. And I don't know how old he is now, like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But anyway, before I go, I wanted to update you on Colors of the Cage. This book is intense. So basically, this guy is just telling about his experience being in prison in India. I'm not 100% sure on Indian politics, so I might have to go down a rabbit hole later, but he was basically accused of being a Maoist, I think is what it's called. And essentially, if I am to trust him and all that stuff, which I think I am, they basically kind of want more of a democracy. And yeah, so anyway, he is accused of being that, and he's basically put in like this prison that people normally go to for only a few weeks, but he was there, I'm gonna have to look it up, I think it was like 4 years. Oh yeah, 4 years and 8 months. Now this isn't quite solitary confinement, but like, yeah, basically it is. Let's see. First of all, when he was first arrested, he was like kicked and punched, and he was tied with his own belt, like his hands were tied, and basically he was like just beat up super badly. And then the cops made up all these reasons, like, oh, he resisted arrest and all these things, and that's not actually true. They basically just beat him up. It's just like a very similar, I feel like it's not really that surprising, even though you should be shocked by this. He said, I feared that the police could murder me and pretend that I had been killed in an encounter. And then, like, basically he's kind of breaking these people that are trying to torture him because he's not giving them any information. Like, I don't even know if he has any information to give, to be honest. But anyway, he's not, like, admitting anything or giving them any information or whatever. So he's seeing them start to crack. Like, this whole thing is to make him crack, and they're the ones that are cracking because they have all these supervisors that are telling them, like, you know, they need information or whatever. And this guy, Arun, is not really allowing them to do their job necessarily because, yeah, they're torturing him, but they're not getting anything out of it besides, like, the power of doing that to someone. Which it kind of talked about that too, about how that need for, like, a self-esteem boost might be something that's common in many law enforcement people or people that are involved in some sort of thing like that. And so because he wasn't really giving them anything, he wasn't really boosting their self-esteem, and, like, they kind of needed him to boost their self-esteem rather than having control of their own self-esteem, which is really bad. They decided to do more, like, mental stuff with him at the part of the book that I'm on right now. And so he was supposed to go through a series of medical tests to see if he could withstand the medical testing they were going to do. Like, more, I don't really understand. I think it was, like, lie detector stuff and, like, brain scans and stuff like that. But actually, the reason for these tests to see if he was strong enough to withstand the procedures were actually to calculate how much of the drug sodium pentothal could be administered without him, like, collapsing. And so it's like they're doing all these things and they're saying, like, hey, this is why we did these things, but that's not actually true at all. Like, everything is actually for something else. And yeah, it's just not cool. And it just makes me wonder, I guess, like, obviously this is in India, like, how much do we not know? Like, the book Zaytoon, for example, absolutely broke my heart, and it made me see, like, we can't trust anybody in law enforcement. And I don't even know. So I have all my books picked out for the rest of Shorty September. And then after that, I'm going to still read Shorties, but not really with, like, a label in mind, while also reading just whatever the crap I want. So anyway, I really want to read Are Prisons Obsolete, which I think will pair nicely with The Colors of the Cage. I believe this is more of, like, an action plan, like, okay, prisons are bad, but now, like, here's what we can do about them. I think I'm going to do this for modern classic. I know that's typically used for, like, fiction, but I feel like this is a really well-known nonfiction shorty. Then there was this little girl whose mom I went to school with, like, all through high school and whatever. And she said her favorite book was Dragon Masters. This is a series of books for kids. It looks super cute. And I just want to read it because basically I think that it could be something that would be accessible for my 6th graders. Yeah, I can't remember what prompt I put this for. I might have stretched. Like, the unreliable narrator, I didn't know what to do. So one of these might be for that. A beautiful cover. I think I'm going to read The Night Always Comes In. I don't even know what this is about, but look at that cover. Then for the nature prompt, which is like cargo shorts, I think I want to read Starting Out in the Afternoon, which is about, I think, a woman who started going out into nature when she was, like, middle-aged, which is, like, basically my life. Okay, Sarah from Your True Shelf is gonna love this one. For, like, the 70s and 80s prompt. I can't remember what the title for that prompt was called, but I'm gonna read When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit, because this was published in 1971, and this cover is amazing as well. And then for translated, I'm gonna read Tituba, Black Witch of Salem. This is translated from the French, and I just went to Salem, and I've heard loads of people raving about this, so I think it will be absolutely perfect. Okay, whew. Now, some other things I'm interested in, kind of beyond Shorty September. I am really always quite honestly, interested in class. And I'm also always conscious of that in teaching and in the hidden curriculum of what I teach, and also even in like subtle things like on a visual schedule for my students. Like most of my students live in a trailer park, so when it says like go home at the end of the day, I made sure like the picture was of a mobile home, like, you know, just little stuff like that. But anyway, class. Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts or something like that talked about this book. I think it's Chav's The Demonization of the Working Class by Owen Jones. This is something I'm interested in reading, and this will cover kind of the British perspective, I believe, of class and basically how the working class is demonized. Wow. But then a book I've had for so long, and I think will be important to read like before midterm elections, is this one, White Trash, The 400-Year-Old Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. This one will be like kind of a good one to put with the British one, because this will be kind of America's response to that or whatever. Yeah. No one else is here yet, so I'm just gonna hang out with my book and a kid-size little apple cider thing, because, you know, I don't want loads of it. And I basically said hi to all my cousins, and I'm just gonna chill. Here, you wanna go maybe over here? I live with the baby. When they don't want to be held. You guys are so bitty.
I think they're not tiny apples, because that'd be way too many apples. Next year, Leo will walk.
These are my favorite, Macintosh. Oh yeah, jackpot.
Bunny.
Two. There's two. That's funny.
She's a rebel.
Done. Okay, so a few more things I want to say about this book. I think I've already said loads, so I'll just say like new findings from today. This is a prison memoir, so obviously Arun is talking about his time in prison, and he talked about all the time he spent reading. So I liked that bit, that it was kind of like hearing about what he read, and just like hearing his reactions to some books that I have also read, and hearing his perspective on, like, for example, The Kite Runner, because he's from a different country than like Western people, and so his perspective on it was really different. Like, he was basically really underwhelmed by it, but then he also thought that it was used to like support the war in Afghanistan, kind of like to show us that we were right or whatever. And I did read it, but I don't really remember the details about like the politics of that. I just remember like the story behind it. Anyway, The other thing that was super interesting was he was talking about how there are more Muslims in prison in India than other groups of people. And I was just curious, like, how that compares to our Black population that is, like, overrepresented in prisons. I think we probably have a higher percentage of Black people in prisons than, like, India has of Muslims, which are, like, their group that's over-identified. But I would be interested to learn more about ours and then kind of compare and contrast it to India. Yeah, I think the only other thing that I want to say is he was talking about situations in prison that needed to be improved and how he went on a hunger strike and all this stuff while he was in prison. And it wasn't the hunger strike that was interesting to me, but what he said about it, which is basically that, like, he came, there's two, I just thought of another thing, but he came from, like, a middle class family, right? So he's coming from a position of privilege, and it was this hunger strike that allowed him to see, like, he didn't have a lot of options to, like, get his way or, like, protest in prison, and a hunger strike was one way that he could do that. And he talked about how, like, this must be what it's like for people in poverty because, like, what options do they have to basically protest things that they don't like in their life? Not necessarily in prison, just, like, outside of prison. But that just made me think of another thing, which is that I, like, really connected to this guy because at the beginning of the story, well, it's not a story, it's actual a memoir. When I was at the apple orchard before my cousin came and her daughter, and then later a bunch of other people came, and my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephew. Before all those people met me there, I just kind of sat down and I had a donut and I had like a small thing of apple cider because I really wanted, like, the treat of apple cider and a donut, but I didn't want to, like, bring donuts home with me or bring home a whole jug of apple cider because obviously, like, that's loads of sugar and I want to not sacrifice, like, a lot. I want to have tastes of things that I wish I could eat more of but not go completely wild. Anyway, that's a different topic for another day. The part that I read when I was waiting there eating my treats was this part where basically Ron is talking about how he grew up in a suburb, he grew up Christian, he grew up middle class, and he just did not understand, like, the poverty that is in India and the inequalities and all this stuff until he went to college, and then he started, like, volunteering and stuff and got to know, like, whoa, like, the world opened up for him. And I feel the same way. I think it was, like, definitely college, but even more so, like, college was, like, the start of my exploration of people that were different from me, because the same thing, like, I grew up in a town where I had 400 kids that I graduated with, and only 2 were Black, and only one of those had been with us, like, our whole school career. The other one moved to our district senior year. Can you imagine being the only Black kid? Anyway, and so I had a similar experience to him where college opened my eyes, and then beyond college, my teaching jobs have just really just blown my mind every single year. Every single year I learn more and I grow more and I connect with more people that are different from me and that have different situations, and it really, like, helps me check myself and put myself in check and all that. Anyway, yeah, I'm really glad I read this. I gave it 4 stars. It's good. I will also link a review that Josna did. She is amazing. And I'm going to post a link to her review because, yeah, she just is so articulate about every single book that she reads. I don't know how many books she reads a month. I know she tends to do a review every 2 months, but I've never, like, counted, like, how many books she talks about. My impression of her is that she reads slowly and deeply and just, like, spends time just soaking up a book, rather than just rushing through. So now that I have read this book, I want to rewatch her video and see what else she said about it. The last thing I want to say is that I have made it to 2,000 subscribers. Like, that is just so crazy to be at 2K. I will make a video later requesting questions for a Q&A and just like freaking out about why I love BookTube so much, which, spoiler alert, is because of you guys. But if you reach the end of this video, which is really long, and you want to leave a question for a Q&A, feel free to do so. Anyway, I will check in with you guys soonish, maybe tomorrow, maybe early next week, but oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for watching videos like these.